Hello, everybody! This is Random Neko, waking up from my nap to greet the world for the day. And by greet, I mean finally get a Wuwa reaction video out just before the current patch I'm reacting to is over, cause it's the new year, and one of my resolutions is to try and be better about meeting my self-imposed deadlines. But we'll see how long that'll last. Now before I begin, a quick disclaimer. This is purely an opinion piece with no heavy research or deep dive involved in its making. Everything's coming from my memory and Google searches for double-checking purposes, so if I get something wrong, please feel free to correct me as politely and civilly as possible in the comment section down below. The main story quest for 3.0 is off to a shaky but still promising start. I didn't expect it to be anything like 2.0 because my expectations then were relatively low post 1.4, until the first trailer came out and I was pleasantly surprised by the roller coaster of a ride Renacita turned out to be. In contrast, 3.0 is coming off of the sort of epic conclusion to Renacita, so my expectations were no longer low, but they also weren't that high, which is why I say 3.0 is off to a shaky but still promising start, cause after playing the main story quest, I'd say that some of my expectations were met while others were not, particularly the one where I was hoping Kuro would course correct and bring some focus back to the main story quest after all the frustration I endured in Septimont, which they both did and didn't. The content this time was not as loaded as 2.0, which was nice, because it potentially means that Kuro's trying to pace themselves and have the acts released in a more consistent manner over however many patches the High Roy will have. But the same can't be said for the pace of the story. The prologue is still short and sweet, serving as a good entry into the High Roy. But Act 1 still consists of everything that's wrong with Wuwa's storytelling. There was no time to really explore the academy and find some clues about Rover's past before we're thrown into a conflict that we're rushing to resolve as soon as possible on the same freaking day that we arrive in the High Roy. The banner characters are given the banner character treatment again, with Chisa barely there except for one optional conversation and a quick glimpse in a cutscene before disappearing forever. And what do you mean she arrived days before we did despite her and Rover leaving at the same time, and why do we never delve into this discrepancy? And Lene somehow becomes an important part of the main story quest just so we can get her backstory dumped on us despite it having nothing to do with the story. And of course she has a tragic past and is willing to be vulnerable with Rover despite only knowing them for barely even a day. While I do actually like Lene as a playable character and love her colorful personality, I'm really starting to get tired of almost every single banner character having some kind of sad or tragic past that gets unceremoniously dumped on us as soon as it can despite not being relevant to the main story. Act 1 could have gone so much better if we didn't get that backstory dump, and Chisa was actually involved considering her backstory. Like Rover and Chisa both arrive in the High Roy at the same time but in different locations. Then once they reunite, Lene shows them around before splitting off because Rover needs to burn a cassette and Chisa wants to track down her family. Then after burning the cassette, Rover goes to explore the academy and begin their investigation on their previous enrollment. Then the Void Storm warning occurs and Rover sees Lene running off in a rush, and they become concerned for her so they go after her and end up following her to the Hyvatia detector's location where it'll still attack, but Rover witnesses part of what happens so they're more willing to help clear Lene's name. Then we can still proceed with Lene's expulsion and she explains the situation to us, but without her backstory dump, and she still leaves despite Rover's protests. But then their attention is drawn to the Void Worm attack and everything will proceed as it did for the rest of Act 1, but it would feel like we actually tried to get into world building and lore exploration before being involved in a crisis and getting a backstory dump. At the very least in Act 2, we finally return our focus to the lore of the High Roy and the connections Rover left behind. I really liked how they handled Mornier, because despite the clear crushing on senpai thing she's got going on, they actually had a valid reason for involving her in the main story quest, and made sure her backstory wasn't relevant so it wasn't so prevalent. We only get pieces here and there to further establish that she had a connection to Rover in the past. I also like how Kuro didn't immediately forget about Lene after her banner was over, and gave a legitimate reason as to why she couldn't participate. The whole conversation with the Shaper was also fascinating in terms of the High Roy's lore, and I hope we get to see more of him because he's such an interesting and tragic character. And was that a possible Cristoforo or Architect appearance there at the end? But while 3.0's main story quest did course correct in the end with Act 2, that still doesn't do much to cover up the fact that Wuwa has a storytelling problem, as they keep making the main story quest about Rover and whatever adventure they need to go on with the banner character of that phase. The main story quest should be about the main conflict or mystery and how it ties into the lore and world building of the region we're in, not about the banner character and how Rover helps them and they help Rover. This issue would be easily resolved if companion quests were brought back, but I have a sinking feeling they might not be for a while, or at all. In addition, I could do without feeling like I'm in a rush during the main story quest, because it felt like I had no time to explore the High Roy's lore or delve into the mystery of Rover's memories, because we were on a time crunch to resolve yet another crisis before the end of each act. But whatever, it's still only 3.0 and there are plenty of more patches left, so I hope the rest of the High Roy's main story quest continues in the vein of Act 2, with properly paced build-up and a story that actually focuses on the High Roy and its crisis and Rover's past that we still barely have any answers for. Not on the banner characters and how Rover saves them while saving the High Roy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Reminder that this is just my opinion and not a heavily researched senior thesis, so if there's anything wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comment section down below in a polite and civilized manner. Also, if there was something from 3.0's main story quest that I didn't cover or you just wanted to talk about, you can do that in the comment section as well. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment if there's anything Wuwa related that you'd like me to talk about next. This is Samranam Neko, going off to do my dailies now. Don't forget to keep calm, just meow, and may your polls be blessed.